Hey everybody, and welcome to another movie review from MBE. Today we are going to be discussing Guy Ritchie's first foray back into the British gangster mobster genre, if you like, since all the way back in 2000 with obviously Snatch, starring a whole array of big names, Brad Pitt and whatnot. This is a gentleman though, Stephen,
yes,
we're speaking about today. First things first, we'll just speak about, I've got a list here as ever. Guy Ritchie returning to this genre after so long. I wasn't aware this movie existed until about 4 or 5 months ago when that first trailer dropped. I think it may even have been sooner than that. So I was taken aback by the fact that he was returning to this genre after doing the likes of Aladdin and King Arthur, working with Charlie Hunnam before. More sort of studio heavy-hitting blockbuster movies, not what he's really associated with or renowned for.
No.
What did you make about him coming back before we actually speak about the movie?
Yeah.
Were you anticipating this, excited for it? What was your expectations for this movie, in a sense, before you went in to see it?
The trailer, John, grabbed me right away. I just loved that, and I knew that we were going to get a classic Guy Ritchie movie. But you're right, he's been out of the sort of his own genre, if you like, for over a decade now. And you're right, he's done the likes of Aladdin and stuff like that. But when it comes to things like that, there's restrictions. There's only so much control he's got over the storytelling, etc. But
I actually enjoyed Aladdin as well.
Yeah, King Arthur was okay. It wasn't anything great. But the thing about these films is, especially obviously, the Charlie Hunnam relationship, he's got to do these films. He's got to branch out. He's got to, schmooze with other actors. And then when it comes to one of his own projects, he can try and entice him into doing it, and they certainly did this time. Tarantino's the same. When he does films, he always goes to his go-to guys, but he always branch out, and it's always actors that probably have been a little bit away from the film for a little while, etc. And in this instance, this is an amazing cast.
It really is.
And I know we're going to be talking about who my favourite character is and stuff like that. We'll get to that obviously, when we do, but I just thought the performances, first and foremost, were amazing. Everyone in this film just hit the ball out of the park. But my expectations, John, is in relation to obviously the casting. When I saw that trailer, I just couldn't wait to see this, because I knew we were going to get a kind of Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch type film, and those two films are still. I know Lock, Stock came out at the end of the 90s, but over the last 20 years or so, those two films are still probably in my top 30 of films of the last 20 years. So
because they're so memorable. They're so memorable. So many great performances from a great ensemble cast in both movies. You go back and look at some of the more highlight heavy moments in those movies, although you could argue the entire movie is full of highlights.
I will say
it's
one thing, John, if you had said to me 10 years ago that do you fancy going and seeing a film starring Matthew McConaughey and Hugh Grant, I would have chased you out the door. I'd have said no chance. These two guys, exactly, John, for so long, more so Hugh Grant, I've got to say, were pigeonholed, certainly in this country. I jokingly would say, Matthew McConaughey was the American Hugh Grant. Two are amazing in this film, absolutely amazing. And not just in this film, I think over the last 10 years or so, both of them have really branched out and, really pushed the boundaries, certainly with Matthew McConaughey. But just an amazing cast, and that was one of the things that enticed me in to watch this film.
Absolutely, Stephen. Look, the trailers got me extremely excited. I liked the tone. It felt, as you did say, very much akin to what we got in Snatch and Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. So I was right on board. Him coming back to this genre, which really propulsed his career from nothing into what it is today. But look, we'll move on to the film, because look, we've kind of done that anticipation, what we were expecting. You're expecting Guy Ritchie here. The guy does this genre better than no other. But that introduction, Stephen, a little double bluff with McConaughey's Mickey Pearce character, I think it is. Mickey Pearson. We were just speaking about that before.
Mickey Pearson is from Only Fools and Horses. Rodney's friend.
Mickey Pearson. He gets shot, or he appears to be shot, in the very opening shot of a spoiler alert. Incidentally, this is a spoiler review, although technically you can
put this up in the title, John.
Yes, we'll put it up, so if you're coming in and getting spoiled, then it's your own fault, really. But double bluff. What did you make of that opening sequence? It starts the movie off firmly as you'd expect. Lots of violence, blood splatters, quick pace. And then the introductory shot of Ray and Fletcher getting together, I think he says, what, Buenos Noche or Buenos Stardust to him or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he's just, it sets up the tone of this movie beautifully. We're introducing characters, quick fire. There's lots of cuts, and it's all from the narrative point of...
Well, this is the thing, John.
Ray, Fletcher,
you know, when you get introduced to the Mickey character, the Matthew McConaughey character, at this point, I'm thinking he's the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
I got that from the trailer as well, that he was going to be the villain. We'll talk about that later, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it's what you expect from a Guy Ritchie film, you know, a lot of swearing, a lot of violence, a lot of bloodshed, but yeah, that sort of setup, you know, with Raymond and Fletcher, I felt it was a little confusing for me. I don't know how anybody else felt, John, but that first 30 minutes really was all over the place for me. I think it's but I was the same, you know, when I watched Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels for the first time, you know, these are sort of connecting stories, you know, and they're all sort of, they'll lead to where they should go at the very end, but again, it's using these layers again and flashbacks, as you said, you know, and I felt it was all over the place at first, and I thought as well, you know, it was probably just my attention, but I thought Fletcher was telling the story of his film, and I was like, so is this a film he's talking about? Or you know, I didn't realise it was obviously a private investigator, and
there was lots of little fantastical takes on what happened.
Yeah, you don't actually know just how dramatic some of this stuff was, but it's obviously from his point of view, and he is the narrator for probably about 3/4 of the film, till we get to present day. So it was just a great introduction, and obviously the Raymond character as well, Charlie Hunnam, was so unassuming as well. I wasn't really sure how to take him at first. He's a very quiet guy, you know, and Hugh Grant for me in that first opening 30 minutes was really just the limelight of the film at this stage. Charlie Hunnam, you know, he wasn't really saying a lot, he wasn't really giving much away. He saw Fletcher as an annoyance and wanted him out of his house as soon as possible. You know, obviously he said that if, you know, you take your barbecue, you know, you can go there now. Words to that effect, you know.
I've got that quote wrote down, Stephen. That was very memorable amongst a great array of very memorable quotes in this movie. That's another aspect. We'll get into the actual dialogue, a real trademark of Guy Ritchie. But you're absolutely right, that opening conversation, it really set the tone, as I did say. We were splitting off into different directions, introducing various different characters, the likes of Mickey Pearson, the likes of Colin Farrell's the coach, and then we're just getting Dry Eyes, and I think, what was it, Lord something, one of the Asian characters,
Eddie Marsan as well.
Eddie Marsan, and then we've got Henry Golding's character, all coming in through the perspective of obviously Fletcher and his storytelling. And you're absolutely right, Stephen, that first 25-30 minutes, it was all over the place, frenetic, cuts all over the shop. We're getting online sort of dancing videos inside Matthew McConaughey's Mickey character's hash sort of
den,
hash den, I don't know what the term is. And it was crazy. I was like, what is going on here in this story? But you're right, that's kind of a trademark of Guy Ritchie as well. I always say Guy Pearce, man. When we speak about Tarkin and Rogue One, I always say that guy's name. I'm obsessed with him. But I digress. It's a kind of trademark of Guy Ritchie, where he does his almost like a British Tarantino, where he can juggle so many different perspectives and stories and then intertwine them all magically at some point down the road in the movie. And that's what he does here beautifully. I thought it set the tone really well. I thought he got the balance right of bouncing back between all of these characters, then coming back to Ray and Fletcher, expanding out their interactions and relationship. And as you did say, it's so many memorable moments of dialogue in there. We have Fletcher saying things like, play a game with me, Ray, things like that. I said, play a game with me, Whit. I think that's just amazing. That I've actually wrote that as my next point. Just Hugh Grant as a whole, his speech impediment, the Cockney accent, the film being skewed from his perspective. Was that something you enjoyed? I know you pretty much touched upon that there.
Yeah.
But the 3/4 of this movie really being portrayed through his perspective. It's almost like he's a very, how shall I put it? He's not a very trustworthy narrator. It's like Arthur Fleck in The Joker. Everything's portrayed through his eyes. You can't really take serious what he's saying because he's embellishing a lot of things that are happening. Like that sequence with Mickey, when he meets Henry Golding's character, whose name still eludes me at the moment. Dry Eye, that's his name, and he shoots him, and there's lots of violence. And then Charlie Hunnam comes in and says, "No, that's not how it is."
Speaking about his accent, John, it was a kind of combination between, I can't remember the actor's name, but the chap that does the narration in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels,
Didn't you find that?
He had a small part in that film. I think he worked in Sting's bar, but he was the one at your Harry, that kind of voice. That and I'm trying to remember the other voice was Jason Fleming. He played Tom in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrel, and he's got that kind of speech impediment as well when he speaks. So it was a kind of combination between both of them, because I remember when we saw the trailer, and I thought at first it was Jason Fleming speaking, and I didn't realise it was Hugh Grant in appearance as well. It just didn't look like him, It just looked like a sleazy guy, and he is a sleazy guy in this, to be fair, and he's one of these guys that blows with the wind as well.
I come with you.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. He's one of these guys, he just wants to blow with the wind. Whatever way the situation's going, he wants to go with it. We've seen that at the end, obviously.
Yeah, he's like cry-checking the X-Files, Steve.
Yeah,
he's just
exactly.
a sleazebag. He's an opportunist. He'll take the money. In some places, he wants double duty. He wants paid twice by doing over different people. I was really surprised by that, as you did touch upon. We were going to speak about it previously, but I'll probably bring it forward. Just subverted expectations from the trailer. I expected McConaughey to be a sort of antagonistic figure in this movie, and Hugh Grant and obviously Fletcher played by, or not, he's Fletcher, Ray played by Charlie Hunnam, to be antagonists try to take down obviously the Mickey Pearson character, but that wasn't the case. It was kind of there was multiple antagonists in here, and it was a sort of whodunit set up, where you don't know what's going on until the final 15 minutes when it all starts going to shit. Basically the shit hits the
But the story all comes together.
Yeah, it all comes together beautifully. So what was your thoughts on that? Do you think you did a good job of hiding the true story in the trailers, and then when you watch it, did it make it an even more enjoyable experience because it's fresh?
I think it was what do they call that, misdirection, that is deliberately set up that way, and it's right, John. I think if you watch the trailer for the first time, you do get that impression of all the characters. Certainly isn't the case in this movie. Obviously there's other key figures in this film that we've not touched on. Obviously the gang, the rapping and all that kind of thing, music video. Eddie Marsan as well is involved in a lot of things. But I think, it's disturbing actually, but so funny as well, John. But that was the direction that that Guy Ritchie took this film in was so surprising. There was a few things, certainly that opening scene, the Matthew McConaughey drinking his pint and what happened there, I knew for a fact that wasn't him. No. You don't get someone like him and do that, Even
but it could have been
even
like
if it was and then they worked back the way, but then obviously the end result. But there was something niggling me saying he's not dead, this is a trick, this is a misdirection, but it was nicely set up. Yeah,
and that all leads up to that amazing sequence, which we'll get into very, very shortly. It's probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie for me, just the car crash and what happens after that. But Stephen, the overall story as well, through that first hour or so, being slanted through a conversation, something that's slightly, I don't know, it seems strange to me. This whole third-party narration style, I know it's been done before, but did that work for you as a whole? I mean, I know we're kind of repeating ourselves again and again here, but I mean, we're talking about the actual opening conversation, but the whole movie almost playing out third party.
They could have told it a different way. You're right, John. I think the third party thing works for little scenes. You got that in Lock, Stock, when they were sort of introducing characters like Ari, and showing what he's capable of, and it's like flashbacks just to give you the impression of what this guy's all about.
So when he comes into the movie later on,
it works for like maybe 2-3 minute scenes, but not for 30-40 minutes, when you're like, where's this going anywhere? Is this real? Because I don't trust this Fletcher character for the kickoff, so I'm not really believing what he's saying. That I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does.
But, that was the impression I got. And Raymond Ray was just so unassuming at that point as well. He wasn't giving too much away either. So I was kind of like, I don't really understand what's happening here, other than he's telling us a story and we've just got to go with it till things sort themselves out.
Yeah, Stephen, look, that actually gets me on to the next moment we'll probably speak about. Raymond, obviously Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
as you did say, so unassuming. You don't really know. You know what everyone else is capable of, but then he kind of introduces him into the part of the story, and it's also there's all sorts of things going on prior to that. Let's kid on with acting out a scene and stuff like that, but he brings him in, and then we finally get to see what this guy is capable of. He's not this quiet, unassuming chap. He's a henchman of Mickey Pearson, and that brings us on to that. Well, there's actually a moment prior to that, but we'll speak about this goddamn scene anyway just now.
This is the apartment scene.
The apartment scene, and I've says it's almost like a British Pulp Fiction. Just that great scene with Jules Winfield and obviously Vince Vega.
Check the big brain.
Check out the big brain on Brad, and then obviously you've got the big kahuna bugger and stuff like that.
That is like
it was like a British version of that. What did you make of that entire sequence as a whole? Obviously the chase afterwards and whatnot. This Aslan Russian figure, mysterious little guy who ends up being quite a big, how shall I put it, proponent for the end part of the movie. The antagonist coming in. What did you make of that sequence?
That's the turning point, John. That's when things start to fall into place for me. Certainly with the Charlie Hunnam character. Up to then I was like, this guy's just not doing anything. He's not really revealing what he's up to. But it's true what they say. It's the quiet ones you've got to watch out for. Certainly in this scene, he's not the quiet one.
We do obviously get a little moment where there's a frozen head body in his freezer. We know he's not a goody two shoes, if you like, and obviously it's the guy that falls out the apartment.
At that point we didn't know that though, John, and there was a brief moment where I thought it was Matthew McConaughey's head, and I was like, oh, what are they doing? They have killed him, but no, you're right. Apart from that, we knew that he was a goody two shoes, let's be honest, but there just wasn't too much in that first 40 minutes for me to get to understand this character, and it was more condensed in this sort of sequence in the apartment. You're right. I think it was a great scene as well. It showed you what he was capable of, but it showed you obviously there was a side to him as well, where he let the girl go. He knew that obviously she was wasting her life, associating herself with these junkies. And then there was obviously the confrontation when I think I don't know the boy's name, the sort of main junkie was wanting her to not leave. And he touches him. And he just turns on him, and it just all kicks off from there. And that's when you see the real Raymond. Yeah, and obviously he says that line, which I probably can't repeat. I'm just not going to be manhandled by a junkie. C-U-N-T, a word that gets used about 40-50 times. Tuesday.
Yeah, we see obviously the first person falling to their death, not the last person.
Well, that was in the trailer.
Yeah, it was in the trailer. And just that I loved that sequence, Stephen. As I did say, it gave me flashbacks to Pulp Fiction. And you're right, it gave us the first insight into what Raymond, as Hugh Grant's character would say, what he was capable of. Suited and booted, dapper as hell, still quite well spoken. But then when it came to it, he was a man of action. They dealt with it. Also, the guy falls out the window, and he has to go and deal with these little kids who have videoed it and took photographs. And we have obviously Fletcher doing his private detective work, taking photographs from afar, kind of rubbing his hand with glee and laughing in his car. Then we get that. I mean, that just whole sequence after that was one of my favourites in the movie. The music, I think it was like a Wu-Tang song. Certainly I heard Wu-Tang getting played. I don't know what song it was. Try to find out what it was prior to doing this review. But just him chasing the little guy, that confrontation when he then meets mob-handed with the rest of these sort of wannabe gangsters. He's telling them, I'm not here to take the phone or steal it, I want to buy it from you. He tries to negotiate with them. They're just not having it. They think, well, you're a mug, we're going to do you. One pulls out a knife, and then we see the real aggression behind this man. He whips out a submachine gun, starts spraying the air. I just loved that whole sequence. I loved, again, just everything about it. It's like a microcosm of this movie. Great dialogue, great music, great cinematography, action. It's very frenetic in its pacing. Just a fantastic sequence. What did you make of the whole Hunnam or Fletcher? I keep getting these two guys mixed up. Raymond sequence with the submachine gun. Before we move on to the introduction of Coach.
It was funny, because as much as, that was the sort of ultimate confrontation for him at this point, there was obviously a bit of beef with the junkies as well, and all the time he had this gun tucked in his coat. I'm like, why didn't he just use it then? He obviously, he's waiting for the right time. But I thought it was great. Just one of these classic Guy Ritchie moments. Just just goes nuts, you know, and I loved it. You know, it was just seeing all their faces, and I think one of them actually froze. The rest of them were away.
It was the little guy that stole I had the phone.
Yeah, they just froze. You know,
I was expecting that little guy to ask for the money. Can I still get the money? But no, just
that
not.
would
Don't
have been
push
good,
it.
actually. Yeah.
Don't push it.
Yeah.
But Steve, we'll move on to the coach introduction scene. It was actually before that apartment scene, where also Colin Farrell's coach character gets introduced. It's after the music video gets shot at, obviously, Mickey Pearson's hash plant.
It's on
and
YouTube.
Then those little kids come into the cafe, they're obviously smelling of hash. It was a great sort of segue. He's like, why can I smell hash? They start smelling, they start thinking, what the hell is this old mug all about? Start giving them back chat, and he says a great line, I wrote it down. Don't stand near me, son. You've got your mouthwash muddled up with cat piss. And again, that's just like a microcosm of the dialogue in this movie. He's saying the only thing you'll wet is your underpants, things like that. This colourful, brash character, Colin Farrell, he's suited in a full-on tracksuit.
Yeah.
I think he had a hat on, and he's just speaking 100 miles an hour in Irish, and he's slapping these young guys down. Then he's saying in the next breath, come down to my gym, you're doing it the wrong way, you fight with your mind and not your hands and blades and whatnot. So great introduction to that character. What did you make of Colin Farrell? And then obviously his part in the movie as a whole, is he kind of a blends in.
I think at this point, John, there's obviously the way he was set up, and that first instance was that he's a bit of a lunatic, but you're right, he's offering them a hand, and he's giving them some advice as well to show that he's not what he appears to be. He's not some mad lout, that's just looking for a fight. He's got his principles as well, as we find out. And I think the minute he gets that phone call as well, I think it's a cafe he's in, isn't it?
It's a cafe,
when he gets that phone call, that's when you see the real side of him, and he's trying to fix things. He understands that his boys have messed up big time, and he goes through them all, to be fair. But then he meets up with Raymond. I was about to say Fletcher. He meets up with Raymond, to try and sort the mess out, and I think the way he handled it as well showed, his character, that he was willing to put himself on the line. He could have just stepped away from it and said, this has got nothing to do with me. These are idiots, these boys that I've been, I don't want anything else to do with them. But he obviously was trying to protect him as well as himself, but his approach to Ray, I felt, was well handled, very composed. He was under a lot of pressure, obviously, with the YouTube video and what was at stake, but he makes amends, big time by the end of the film. So he was a great character, and I think Colin Farrell, just for that sort of quick fire sort of patter, you'll not get any better apart from Scottish than an Irishman doing it.
Absolutely
he
not.
handled it brilliantly.
He really did, Stephen. He turned into a really great character as the movie progressed. As you did say, he played a real primary part in helping out Pearson and whatnot, and obviously Raymond at the end. Again, it just showed you how great an actor he is. He's a real chameleon. He can take on the form of everything. This guy that's doing the Penguin in the next Matt Reeves, the Penguin, and the Barman, and now here he is playing a sort of mentoring, slightly deranged Irishman in a Guy Ritchie movie. So it just shows you what he can do. I thought he was a really colourful character. I got that from the trailer anyway, but really enjoyed him. That'll get me on to the next sort of point. I'm jumping ahead back and forth through this little guideline I've gave us, but it's a guideline, it's not there to be adhered to strictly. Favourite characters in this movie, Stephen? I've said there's so many distinctly different characters. Again, it's a trademark of a Guy Ritchie movie. You've seen it in the likes of Snatch with Brad Pitt, and you've seen it in Lock, Stock, 2 Smoking Barrels, and Snatch as well. I think Vinnie Jones was in both. And also the Bullet Dodger, what was it, the Bullet?
Bullet-Tooth Tony.
The Bullet-Tooth Tony. There's so many colourful characters in this sort of subgenre that he created, and it's the same in this movie again. You've got Mickey Pearson, Raymond, even Rosaline Pearson, obviously Mickey's wife. She's a great character in
fantastic,
it. You've got the Jew, as he's called, Matthew, played by Jeremy Strong, Coach, Dry Eye, Fletcher, Big Dave, which is Eddie Marson. There's so many great characters. Did you have a particular standout, and what was your favourite?
Well, I think probably the two it's very difficult, John. I thought they were all amazing, but Matthew McConaughey played the very straight role in this. There wasn't any sort of twists and turns with his character. He was very straight-laced, down the line. You knew what you were getting from him, although he was portrayed as a sort of villain at the start of the film. That's not his character's fault, the way he's directed, you know, and the way the story is told at this point. But when you look back on the film as a whole, he's very straight down the line. I would say he's a very honourable character.
Absolutely,
as well.
You see that with the Asian guy.
So I think you know what you're getting with Matthew McConaughey. You know, it was brilliant. You know, but for me, it was probably Hugh Grant. I felt his character just had more dimensions to him. Didn't know what way he was going to go. As you said, you know, he blows with the wind, John, and everything that I thought about Hugh Grant back in the day, you know, in these rom-coms, playing the bumbling middle-class Englishman, was all blown away in this film. It was, you know, just an amazing performance, physically and obviously vocally as well. It just wasn't something I expected he was capable of doing. And it was just amazing. But I would also say Charlie Hunnam as well. You know, I think I would probably put him just behind Fletcher, behind Hugh Grant, I should say, and then Matthew McConaughey. But I think he was excellent as well. You know, and I think it was, you know, a less patient man would have been really bored with his character after maybe the first 25-30 minutes. But just developed as the film went on, and you know, he is a great actor anyway. But for me, I think it's Hugh Grant. His character was a standout character for me.
Stephen, it'd be hard to disagree with that. Just everything, as you did say, from the vocal tics, the sort of speech impediment he has, just the nature of the character. He's a real
the dialogue.
He's almost like a showman. He's kind of working them around. He thinks he's the kingpin, or I'm saying Penling Kingpin. Kingpin, I can speak, puppet master. He thinks he's playing them around. As we discover later on, he's actually not. He's been played for a fool, because there's many moving pieces in this movie. But yeah, I really enjoyed Fletcher as a character. I think he's probably stand out just because of that great performance from Hugh Grant. I think this guy, he's just getting up my estimations every single time I hear him talk now in terms of political views. The way he's speaking about the establishment and stuff like that, really starting to admire him outside of acting as well. You're absolutely right about McConaughey as well, Mickey Pearson. He's a real straight as a dime sort of character. Really honourable. You see that with the Lord George scene where he's been wronged. He goes in, I think he gives him a viral fungal thing, and he says he'll shit himself to death by sunrise or something if he doesn't take 2 tablets that he's gave him. But it shows you he could have killed him, but he lets him off. He just wants to retire with his family, with his wife and have a family, get out of the business. He's trying to sell it for a reasonable price, and he's all of these wrongings round about him, trying to screw him out of money and whatnot. So he's a real honourable guy in the movie.
John Fletcher actually saves him. You know, he gives Ray the information to save him when he gets in that car. So
you know why that is though, because he loses out in the money when he realises the Russians are dead.
He's in a box at that point as well. I think he knows he's a goner at this point.
Absolutely. Other than that though, Stephen, finally, I mean, you're right, Ray is amazing as well, Charlie Hunnam. I've been a fan of that guy for years, and the likes of Sons of Anarchy. Really good actor. I wouldn't say Mickey was an absolute standout. For me, it's probably a toss-up between Coach, Fletcher and Ray. I really liked Colin Farrell, what he did in this movie. Wasn't in it as much as the others, but when he was in it, he was a scene stealer. That moment with Fahuk and stuff like that, bringing that guy out and he falls over the bridge and gets killed with a train. There's so many amazing moments. The Ronald Old MacDonald has a farm sequence. This is all involving Coach, so he's right up there as well in my favourites. But I'd probably go for Fletcher. You're absolutely right. But look, Stephen, I think we'll move on that note. We have spoken favourite characters to the absolute death. We'll move on to, I want to say, dialogue and comedy. I've got as a next point. The dialogue as a whole, I mean, again, we keep speaking about trademark Guy Ritchie, but the guy's dialogue is just second to none. He knows how to write punchy, organic dialogue. It just, the characters say it and it feels real. I mean, it's just synonymous with his movies. You could even into the likes of Aladdin, there's little glimpses into the dialogue in that as well. Even these bog standard Disney remakes have got elements of it, but his actual meat and bones, proper stories that he's fought up, dialogue's amazing. It's the same here. I really enjoyed it. As I did say, there's so many quotes, and I mean, I've got a list of quotes that I've tried my best to remember, but it's a bit wooden. Put some F into it. F's sake, Raymond. And there's just so many moments in here. The comedy as well. I just love that dark comedy, and just out and out comedy in certain parts. I mean, as I mentioned previously, I think it wasn't Dry Eyes, it was the other chap that jumped over the bridge and get hit with a train. That was great dark humour. So what did you make of the dialogue? I think that was a big part of the movie, really. The enjoyability aspect.
I knew what we were going to get, John, with Guy Ritchie, writing this, and obviously along with his other writers, but he's just got a knack for throwing in dark humour at the right time. You take that away, it does lose something, from these type of films. So it's very important, and I felt that the cast that he was able to bring to this film delivered the dialogue perfectly. And you're right, the coach character for dialogue, you're right, it was very limited in his screen time, but he knocked the ball out of the park every time, just with one-liners. And I felt myself in the cinema as well, John, just sniggering away. It was always a delayed reaction as well with whatever line it was. It just sort of tickled me. And it was always, you had to think about it, and then you would have a wee laugh about it.
For me, it was the overuse of the CUNT word, Stephen. I think it was used a good 20 times in this movie. I think
everyone in the film said it.
Yeah. There was a moment where I'm actually reading the quote. I try to write it down.
Even the pigs, John.
Yeah, even the pigs. We'll get into that in a second, Stephen. You couldn't lift a wheel of cheese. Yeah, CUNT. I'm not going to be manhandled by a junkie CUNT. I think I mentioned that prior. There's so many CUNT moments in here. And again, that's just trademark British humour. We love to a good bit of profanity over here. I think everyone does, but us in particular, we really enjoy it. But again, without gibbering on again, I really enjoyed the dialogue. There's the other quote there, "No, but your soul is, you dark CUNT. Now, F off, I'm going to bed. You can go and smoke exhaust pipes in your hearse," and things like that. You know what, and into a hanky, scratching around in the dark. So many great moments in terms of dialogue. It really brought the characters to life, made them feel like living, breathing people. And again, it's just completely synonymous with this man's work in terms of movies. I loved the humour. I'm going to move on to The Old MacDonald Had a Farm, which is just a sort of Eddie Marsan discussion in general, because this guy was extremely underused, Stephen. That was the one disappointing aspect. You bring a guy like that in, he's such a talented actor, and he had some brief moments, but he was slightly underused.
Well, this is the first time, John, I can't recall I've seen Eddie Marsan playing this type of role. He's always played, from memory anyway, he's always played like a softer character, mild-mannered. And this one, certainly not that. Especially, when he meets his comeuppance, when he goes out to tell them to move their van. You see that side of him, but there wasn't enough of him, but it was serving the story, John. Obviously, he had his part to play, and it wasn't a big role, but he's such a great actor, very much like your man Colin Farrell. He had more screen time than obviously Marsan, but just for that presence in the film as well, you need a big character, you need a big actor, to play these characters, to really make them louder than they are, because the scenes are so short and because they're so limited. You need someone in there that's going to just hit the ground running every time with every line. Marsan did that, and I think he's comeuppance, John. We can't dance around this.
It's like Black Mirror. I think it was episode 1 of Black Mirror, where the Prime Minister had to get involved in some intimate things with a pig. It was never really seen, but it was heavily hinted. We panned to a pig, and then he's played a video. It's Old MacDonald had a farm. What an ending for that character. That was magnificent.
That part was really good, but the part that sort of topped that part in relation to that part was obviously the coach and Ray. Ray.
It's nightmare fuel. It will be with me forever.
Why did you watch that?
I think that was just, I don't even know why they did that, Stephen, as a whole. Obviously just to humiliate him, I'd imagine, but there was no real need for it. Again, it's just dark humour. I love that shit. I feed off it. But you're right about him not having a huge role, but enough of a role. And we see that with also Henry Golding as well. Dry Eyes. He's not in the movie a huge amount. He flits in and out, but he's a big enough personality that when he's on the screen, he commands it, and he has some moments. And one of the biggest moments is a part of that sort of extended sequence. It starts with obviously the attempt to kill Mickey Pearson in the bar. It's revealed he doesn't get killed. After all, he survives it. I think it's Raymond shoots the Russian assassin, or no, I think it's an Asian assassin. Can't speak correctly here. And then we go off and there's a crash sequence with I think it's a bin lorry or something, or a truck. And then it goes on, his wife's endangered. We've got Dry Eyes trying to manhandle his wife. That little gold gun he gets gave, I think, by the Mark Strong character. Not Mark Strong, the other Strong. What's his name, that Strong cat? Jeremy Strong, the Matthew character. You speak about small roles. This guy has a massive part to play at the end of this movie, but he's not really in. He's flitting around in the shadows.
Yeah.
He's trying to sweet talk, obviously, Mickey Pearson into allowing him to buy his tycoon, his empire, if you'd like. He gives him a little gold gun and we see it getting used in that sequence. What was your thoughts on that whole sequence as a whole, Stephen? For me, the standout sequence as a whole, just him running to try and save his wife, her shooting those goons with the gold gun.
The cinematography, John, was outstanding. The way they shot him running down that street, you know, that way, obviously he's injured and he knows the danger that his wife's in, and he's running as fast as he can, and he can't run fast enough.
No.
And you think this is all going to go
pear-shaped.
Down, yeah, that's the one. You know, and just everything about it, I think there was music as well, wasn't there?
There was music, yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
I can't either.
It was just one of those moments where everything slowed down, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know, everything up to then was just blah, 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 you know, just dialogue heavy, you know, as great as it was. For that sequence, it was just more, you know, the action, if you like. I thought it was great. You know, it was one of the standout moments in the film for me. And McConaughey, you know, I can't remember, what's the actress's name again?
I'll
played his wife.
Dig that up right now. Is Michelle Dockery.
Yeah,
Rosalind Pearson.
She was, I don't think we should, you know, obviously ignore her performance.
No, she was really good, yeah.
For her screen time, John, I felt that she was no nonsense. You know, she was a match for Mickey Pearson as well.
Yeah.
You know, and he had that mutual respect for her, and you can see why the characters got on, why they were married.
Yeah.
You know, and this scene sums it up. You know, there'll be a lot of snowflakes out there thinking, you know, oh, here we go, here's a white male coming in to save the day. But in this instance, John, I felt it was just a great scene, you know, and he didn't muck about either.
No.
You know, and that was one of the things I liked about
2
that
shots
scene
to the head.
Yeah, he deserved it.
He did. Stephen, I loved that little gold gun as well. Just that delayed reaction sequence with the
sound
big gun.
As well off it was.
Yeah.
The first shot I didn't know it happened. I was
he
like,
rubbed his head and then he dropped.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Second one was even better.
Yeah.
Because she shot him right in between it. She's also got that Princess Leia aim as well.
Yeah.
Just incredible shot right in between the head of the eyes, and he dropped immediately. It's such a cool little gun. She was slagging him off as well earlier in the movie. Oh, he's bought you a gun. He's like, no, it's a paperweight. She's like, there's bullets, it's a gun. She ends up using it. And you're right, the cinematography for the actual car crash as well, that shot inside the car of them spinning round, it was in slow motion. Yeah. And it was almost weightless. Amazingly shot the way they captured that. It was
almost like the Inception scene in the car, you know, just that slowed down sort of, sequence.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it was one of the most memorable parts of the film.
It really was, Stephen. And then again, we see that ruthless side of Mickey Pearson. He is an honourable guy, but if you screw around with his family, absolutely ruthless, and he will handle it with unbridled fury, if you like. And that really fuels the final part of the movie, the last 5 minutes or so, because he's still angered about Dry Eyes getting in about and getting close to his wife and nearly, obviously, potentially raping, I think, that nearly he was trying to do, or kill her. And then that he discovers who the main puppet master is around this. It's obviously the Jeremy Strong character. I need to look up his name again, Matthew. And he goes after him with unbridled fury. I really enjoyed the ending. I've said here though, story as a whole, it's blah blah blah, twists and turns. Was the build up worth the wait? Also, we have an elongated build up through the Raymond and Fletcher conversation. It builds this story out, all these side players, primary players. This kind of a linear story of him trying to sell his drug tycoon, and then we find out who's trying to obviously devalue the drug tycoon and whatnot. It's this Matthew character. Did you like the ending?
Well, John, before we go into that, it's funny how we've been saying, you know, the Matthew McConaughey character is honourable, etc., and we know his line of business, so he's not entirely honourable, but he's got his principles, you know, and you know, the right places, and obviously with his family and stuff like that. But I felt the setup, John, was a little bit too long. it wasn't a major thing,
No.
you know, but I just felt 40 minutes into, I don't know what, I think it was just under 2 hours, the film, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was about 2 hours, yeah.
I just felt the build-up was maybe a little bit too long, and it wasn't, again, it's probably me, you know, but I felt that the first 40 minutes wasn't as clear as I would like to have been, but I think maybe in a second viewing, John, it's, as I said, you know, previously, I think Guy Ritchie films are there to be watched a few times because they are quite layered, you know, and obviously you can miss lines as well, and I just felt that maybe trimming about 5-10 minutes off that beginning would have probably worked better, but I'm not going to complain, John. It's nitpicking. I felt that the payoff at the end was well worth the wait. Yeah,
Stephen, look, it was an exhilarating end. We have all of this sort of a chess pieces that have been positioned and manoeuvred into play, all come together for the sort of checkmate moment. Russians involved and people getting killed and machine guns getting sprayed into cars and whatnot, and then obviously this Matthew character gets his comeuppance, the absolute look of fear when he realises that his Mossad crabs, he calls his henchmen, have found a home in the fish market, and that he's going to be going to a freezer for about an hour or so and working out what he wants to do moving forward. I enjoyed the ending, but I can't disagree with what he says about this movie as a whole. I enjoyed the way that he balanced things and introduced characters, and this concept of doing it through a third party narration technique, but it was a little bit dragged out in parts, and it seemed to take quite a while to get to what was a very quick fire ending. I mean, it was over in 5 minutes, really, the finale. It was almost lacklustre, but it wasn't. I enjoyed it. I'm going to take myself right out of that right away. It wasn't lacklustre, it was an enjoyable ending. But yeah, I mean, you could probably take 15 minutes off this movie in the first 45 minutes or so, and you wouldn't lose much. Just maybe even the Eddie Marson character, take him out, but less of him, and you wouldn't really miss him. For me personally, maybe I have to go back and watch it. Maybe he had a really pivotal part to play in setting things up. I may be wrong, but there's certain elements of this movie that could have been trimmed. But look, it's Guy Ritchie. Yeah. He's coming back to this genre after goddamn 20 years. I'm not going to nitpick. I really enjoyed the movie as a whole. And I'm going to move on, Stephen, to probably the final point before we go into maybe overall thoughts.
Yeah.
Favourite performance? I actually picked out characters earlier on, but who would you think was the standout performance? It may be the same answer as obviously the standout character. For me, Hugh Grant is right up there again as probably one of the standout performers in this movie. I just thought he was absolutely sublime. He's doing a role that I don't expect him to do. It's completely outside his usual, how shall I put it, ballpark, and he came out of his comfort zone and did really well.
Well, sometimes the sort of standout actor isn't the best character in the film, John, but in this instance it is, just like we were saying before, the Fletcher character interests me enough because I didn't know what direction he was going to go in. He was so unassuming, he was basically just a liar, and a bit of a fantasist, and an opportunist as well. The actor playing him, Hugh Grant, for me was outstanding. I've already said, obviously the physicality and his delivery of his lines and his accent, etc., was amazing as well. But this is a man, you can vouch for me on this. I was never the biggest fan of Hugh Grant back in the day when he was doing films like 4 Weddings and a Funeral, etc.
Love Actually.
I just felt, try something different, and
he says it himself, Steve.
The first time I saw him, John, really branching out was Mickey Blue Eyes. I think it was a kind of comedy, like a dark comedy, and there was bits in that he was likeable in, and then About a Boy came out, and it just totally turned my way of thinking, the way I felt about the actor. I felt finally, he's doing something I like, something that I enjoy. Well, he's got to please me, but I just felt he had there was something there, that I knew that he could really flex his muscles with. About a Boy came, and he was amazing in that. But this is in another level. This is Guy Ritchie is very good. Seeing the best in people and getting the best out of them as well, and he certainly did with this actor.
Stephen, it's actually funny as well that you should see him also getting the best out of the actor. I've read, or I think I actually watched an interview, in actual fact it may have been on Jimmy Fallon, and he explained how he got the part for this role. He actually bumped into Guy Ritchie, I think in the middle of London or something, going to his wedding or a wedding, and they interrupted him and they had a long conversation. They pitched him the role and the script and whatnot, and that's how he actually got the part. It was a chance encounter with Guy Ritchie. He wasn't even... He didn't specifically go out to get Hugh Grant. It was a chance encounter, so that was very interesting. It turns out to be one of the best performers in the movie.
Yeah.
So, complete stroke of luck.
Yeah.
You look at the other performances, Matthew McConaughey was a really good performance as well. A more underplayed character, if you like, quieter. Although he was, as I did say, vicious when he had to be. Yeah. Charlie Hunnam, I've repeated myself time and again. I've really enjoyed him in a lot of things. He seems to be getting better and better with every movie I've seen him in. And then Colin Farrell, man. I mean, he was another standout. But yeah, for me, Hugh Grant is the standout. He's the standout character, the standout performance.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to the final part of this review, Stephen. The overall thoughts on this movie, where it ranks amongst Guy Ritchie movies as well.
Yeah.
As a little final question to throw you away. My personal opinion, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Without repeating myself for the 20 millionth time, there is certain elements that could have been cleaned up. It's a little bit too long for me, even though it's just under 2 hours long. It's not that long. And there was certain little things that I maybe could gripe about. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was packed with great performances, amazing, memorable characters, really good violence, dark humour. It was frenetic in its pacing from start to finish. An absolute brilliant, enjoyable ride.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and watch it again. So that's probably the highest praise I could give it. In terms of where it ranks, I mean, I'm not even going to rank it next to the likes of King Arthur. I'll just rank it out of Snatch and Lock, Stock, 2 Smoking Barrels. I don't think it's as good as those two movies, Stephen. No. They are like the gold standard Guy Ritchie, but it's not a terrible movie either.
No,
it's not far away.
I don't think it's far away, John. I think apart from some pacing issues, it's a very good film. But you're right, Lock, Stock is probably my favourite Guy Ritchie film, then followed by Snatch, and then probably this.
Yeah.
The rest can just bugger off. I don't really care about the rest, to be honest with you. This is when the guy's in his element. Pardon the pun, but I think this is where it has to do more of these. You know,
it really does.
I see he's done his trilogy of these sort of gangster London type films, but I can't get enough of them.
Absolutely not, Stephen. I hope he does give us more. His next movie is called Cash Truck. I don't think it's a British mob movie. Certainly not. It's set in Los Angeles, so sadly he isn't getting back quite yet. But hopefully he will come back at some point and do another one of these movies, because he really is fantastic. He's the gold standard in terms of British mobster movies.
Yeah.
But look, guys, I'm done. Stephen's done speaking about this movie. What did you make of The Gentleman? Have you seen the movie? Have you seen Lock, Stock, 2 Smoking Barrels and Snatch? Where do you compare this movie in comparison to them? Who's your standout performer? What was your thoughts in general on this movie? Did you enjoy it, hate it? Were you completely whelmed and didn't give a shit either way? If you've got anything to say about it, you can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. And if you do, you'll see us back for another review next Friday. We do shows, we do reaction videos, everything in between. See you then, guys.